You're watching the Luca Rosano Show. Here's your host, Luca Rosano.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Luca Rosano Show presented by Dave and BUSTER'S. Vaughn, this week's guest, it's time to get out the salami and cheese, mama. We got Chuck Swirsky on with us. Chuck, I can't believe I have you on this podcast. It's my honor to have you. How's it going?
Thank you. Well, it is what it is. We take one day at a time. And again, please be safe, everyone. And my thoughts are with many people who have undergone, that's affected, obviously, with the COVID situation. But as you know, I'm very optimistic, and we're all in this together, and we'll persevere, and we'll be back better than ever.
100%, Chuck. Chuck, take us through where you got that famous salami and cheese call from, as Raptors fans know that very well.
Well, I got a letter. It's a letter, not an email, but a letter. And it said, Chuck, I'm locked into your telecast with Jack and Leo. And, I go to the refrigerator, grab a beverage, but, I got the hunger pains during the game. And so maybe when you think the Raps have won the ball game, can you just do a little shout out and just say, hey, looks like the Raptors are going to win. And by the way, I love making sandwiches and it's salami and cheese. So I thought, okay. So the next game, Raps are up by like 8 points with like 16 seconds left. So just out of nowhere, I said, get out the salami and cheese, mama. This ball game is over. And the producer in the truck is talking in my ear. Now, they couldn't hear this on the air. And the producer's saying, Chuck, are you okay? Like, what? You salami and what? And I hit the mute button so I could talk to the producer, and it did not go over the air. And I said, I'll explain it. It's good. Everything's fine, I think. And so after the game, I had a conversation. Well, the next morning, we got inundated with calls at the Air Canada Center, known now as the Scotiabank. And so, long story short, I just went with it. Every time I thought the Raps were in a position to win the game, there you go.
That's awesome. And as an Italian, I can appreciate a good old salami and cheese sandwich. Right. Chuck, you were the play-by-play announcer for the Raptors for 10 years from 1998 to 2008. How did you become the voice of the Raptors? Take me through what that journey looked like for you.
Well, there was an opening, and I had an agent at the time, Maury Gostfran, who is one of the best in the business. And he, we were kicking the tires. I was doing college ball, 18 years. And so we said, why not? And so we submitted a tape. And the next thing I know, Nelson Millman from the Fan 590 called and said, we'd like to talk to you. And one thing led to the next, and went in for an interview. And then I had another interview, I believe, over the phone. And then it just happened.
That's awesome. So why did you eventually leave for Chicago with your current position now as the radio play-by-play?
Well, it was really difficult. It came down to a personal situation within the family. And I felt, obviously, that I always put my family first. And so I made that move. Nothing personal against the country. Obviously, I became a Canadian citizen. Yep. Nothing against the city. I love Toronto, love the Raptors organization. I worked probably, with Larry Tannenbaum, who is like unbelievable as a man and also as somebody who cares so deeply about the city and also its teams. And, I had a great boss with Tom Anselmi, who's now running the Edmonton Oilers. And, love Jack, love Leo, love the whole situation, love living in Burlington. And, it's just unfortunate that, my career in Toronto was short because 10 years, in my opinion, is short. I wish I, could have worked there 30 years. But again, the Bulls were very kind enough to have me come back to Chicago. Love the Reinsdorf family. They're great people. And so long story short, here I am.
What was your favorite all-time moment while being the play-by-play broadcaster for the Raptors?
Well, there's so many. I mean, we went through the Vince Carter years, and that was spectacular because every night he was bringing it. I mean, incredible, sick, wicked, nasty dunks. Then we had, the playoff series, first ever for the Raptors, where McGrady played really well. We got swept by New York. And as I'm recalling that series, I still see Larry Johnson hitting the topside three that banked home from about 26 feet. And that was really one of the turning points of the game in 2000. And then in 2001, the playoff series against Philadelphia, with the drama surrounding Vince and graduating that day and flying to Philadelphia from Chapel Hill. And then game 7, it comes down to the final shot with Vince. And I mean, that was a great series with Vince and AI going at it. And I mean, we could just talk over and over that playoff series with the Nets, where Carter comes back as a net against the Raptors.
Yeah.
And then, we lost game 6. Calderon tried to feed the pass to Bosch, underthrew him. And because he had thrown the ball over the top, Bosch would have either dunked it or brought it down and slammed it. And there's no way the Nets win game 7 in Toronto. No chance. None. But again, I'm happy that they won the title last year, and that's that.
Yeah. So what was going through your mind? I mean, watching that NBA Finals and seeing the team that you used to work for reach the pinnacle and win the championship.
Well, I think it's great. I mean, I'm not envious or jealous of anyone. I mean, would I like to call the finals game one day? Absolutely. Do I wish, that the Bulls make the finals in the near future? 100%. But since the Bulls were not involved, I was Joe Fan, as Jack Armstrong refers to himself as Joe Bag of Donuts. And so I didn't have donuts next to me, maybe some celery and carrot sticks, which is kind of boring. But I was rooting for the Raptors. And before the playoffs started, I took the Raptors to win the title.
Wow. Okay. So that's not too many people did that. So at least you can give yourself some credit there where credit's due. Chuck, besides the infamous salami and cheese call, what other saying is your favorite? And I'm going to narrow a couple down here. Is it sick, wicked, and nasty? Onions, baby onions.
Yeah,
Oh my Bosh. Ring it up from downtown, or
Yeah.
Raptors win, Raptors win, Raptors win. If you had to choose one besides salami and cheese, what are you going with?
Raptors win, because I wanted to see the ball club do well. And I mean, listen, all those phrases and whatnot, it happened naturally. It's not something I would sit thinking, okay, what can I come up with next? Remember the music device that was very popular back in I would say maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, was the MP player.
Yeah.
And so we had Mo Peterson, and Mo loved to shoot the three. So we would say, an MP3, and because Mo Peterson for 3.
That's
And
awesome.
so we did that. We did Anthony Parker. And now a lot of your listeners and viewers may not remember these old-time Raptor players. Anthony Parker was a guy that played high school ball here in the Chicagoland area, Naperville, Illinois, which is about an hour west of Chicago. Went to Bradley University, was an outstanding collegiate player, late first-round pick. Things didn't go well for the first year or two, ends up playing in Israel.
Yeah.
And really carved out a really nice comfort zone before the Raptors brought him in. And so, he became a very valuable, trusted player. But he loved to take corner threes. So I came up with a phrase that's, from 18 Parkerville Court, because he wore jersey number 18 and he loved to shoot the corner 3. And so we gave him this little territory, Parkerville.
So innovative, and that's why you've had plenty of success throughout your entire career thus far. And I fully remember those Anthony Parker days. Chuck, what has been your reaction so far to the NBA bubble?
Well, I mean, the NBA got some great news that they tested every one of its players, over 300, and it all came back negative. So the bubble is working, and I hope people understand that, when you take care of yourself and you wear a mask, then it's all good. So I think it's fantastic for the NBA. And again, things can change quickly, as we know. All
Yeah.
it takes is one and it spreads. So that's why the players have to be really disciplined and put the stops at Magic City with the Wings on hold for about 3 months.
From a gameplay standpoint, have you enjoyed the game so far? Like, what are your biggest takeaways from what you've seen?
Well, it's getting better. At first, it's hard because without fans, you look at the games and it almost has a feel, or at least it did for me when we first started, of a preseason game, or it lacked that buzz. But now, as I'm watching these teams and the players are playing themselves in shape, or the players now understand, hey, we only have like 3 games left or 4 games left, and we're knocking on the door for a higher seed, or we need to stay in the top 8, or we need to play in that play-in game. Now you're really starting to see these players get after it because, listen, I get it. They didn't play 82 games, but in my opinion, there should not be an asterisk next to a team for winning this title. In fact, I think it's very hard. They had 3 months off. They got out of their mojo, their vibe that they were in. Some teams like Memphis, they were rolling. And now all of a sudden, Memphis is struggling, probably won't make the playoffs unless they go on a run the last few games. So I think we really need to celebrate the team that wins the title here.
That's a very good point, and I totally agree with that statement. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, Chuck. If you had to give me a finals prediction here, what are you going with?
Raps and Clippers.
Ooh, okay. Raptors fans are going to like that one. And who do you got winning the finals?
Well, I'm gonna hold off on that because I want to see the health of the players.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. You could be having a great run, and all of a sudden you could get in the series. All it takes is 1 or 2 players, either because of COVID, which we certainly don't want to have happen. We don't want any injury to occur. But if a player tweaks an ankle or bruises a knee or whatever, and he can't play, that changes the landscape of everything. But I will tell you, going into the playoffs in another 10 days or so, I think it's going to be the Raps and the Clips.
I'd be on board with that, and that's actually my finals prediction. We got play-by-play announcer for the Chicago Bulls here in Chuck Swirsky. Chuck, I do want to get into a little bit of Chicago Bulls talk. How do you see the offseason shaping up for the Bulls? Apparently, Markkanen hasn't been too thrilled with the way that the Bulls have been running their offense. And another name that's been, on the rumor mill is Zach LaVine. How do you see things looking for this Bulls team in their near future?
Well, I like the nucleus. They've got a really good, nice young core. I mean, Zach's 24 years old. And so, I mean, you look at LaVine and you look at Markkanen, you look at Wendell Carter Jr., you look at Kobe White. I mean, these are some nice pieces. But now you got to add on to that, not only onto it, you've got to have these players stay healthy. The Bulls haven't been healthy the last few years. Kobe White played in all 65 games. He was a rookie. But you've got to have the nucleus of some good young talent, which we do, but they've got to stay healthy and they need to learn how to play together. You know, when you're out 3 months and you're watching, it's one thing to sit next to a player and talk during the game. It's another to be on the floor. So you learn about a player, whether they like to take it to the rim, what angle, do they love pick and roll? Do they want ball screens? Do they want slip cuts with their big men? All these things. And the only way you find out is you got to play.
Chuck, do you think the Bulls will keep or fire Jim Boylen? He's obviously been on the hot seat, especially this season. What do you think happens there?
I think I don't have an answer. And I really, honestly, and I'm being very transparent about this, it's really none of my business. I mean, I don't own the club. I wish I did, but I don't own the club and I'm not the GM. And, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a GM. Now I'm thinking, well, maybe I still want to be a GM. But I think that there are a lot of headaches, but it's a great gig. It really is. But those are things taken way above my pay grade. So I'm just a broadcaster. I love what I do, and I take it from there.
Just for the record, I still think you have the best job ever. Last Bulls question here, Chuck. How far away do you think the Bulls are for competing for a playoff spot in the East?
Wow. Well, I think had they stayed healthy, they would have been the 8th seed, maybe 7th seed. But I think going into next year, depending on what they do with the draft, whenever the draft's going to be held, and what they do in free agency, and again, it's very thin. They don't have a lot of money. I probably can speak on behalf of a lot of teams. This whole COVID situation is going to really change a lot of things.
Yeah.
I mean, the salary cap is going to take a hit eventually. Players. So I really don't think much of trying to guess what the front office and the ownership are going to do, because it's out of my control. Whatever they do, I roll with it.
Chuck, before we get out of here, I do have one final segment that I want to run with you. I do this with all my special guests. It's called Rapid Fire. Are you ready for some rapid fire questions?
Yes.
All right, first one here. Since you are a Canadian citizen, you became one, like you said, in 2008. I have to ask, what was your favorite part about being Canadian while living in Canada?
Stopping by the DQ on Appleby Line.
I love it. What 3 ingredients make up a poutine?
Well, for the fries and the gravy, and what's the third?
The good old cheese curds.
That's right, not bad.
It's okay. Next, if we ever meet up, Chuck, or somewhere down the line, I'll bring you a good old-fashioned poutine, and you'll remember exactly what it's made out of.
I'm not going to get kicked out of the country for not knowing that, although I probably should. I'll be on a 24-hour. They can put me in a holding place.
What's your favorite part about living in Chicago?
Favorite part is the electricity of the city and the restaurants.
If you could have dinner with any current or former NBA player, who would it be?
Current or former NBA player? Wow. Well, probably Michael Jordan.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And I know Michael. I mean, from a professional standpoint, I'm not personal friends with him, and I don't pick up the phone and call him. But I mean, he's the best, period. With all due respect to LeBron, Michael is the best.
Can't disagree with you on that one. Next one here. Wine or beer?
Wine.
What annoys you?
Incompetence and tardiness.
And final one here. Most memorable broadcasting moment for you?
Kobe, 81 games. 81 points, rather, in a game on a Sunday night. Kobe's 81 points. That was an unbelievable game. I mean, he didn't take on 5 Raptors. He took on the whole team. And anybody we put on him, we did a box and one. Matt Bonner, Jalen Rose, Mike James, Chris Bosh, Mo Peterson. I mean, you can go right down the list of players that tried to guard him. Nobody could guard him.
That's a great memory. You were right there witnessing history. Chuck, Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me here on the show. Stay safe out there, and hopefully we can do this again down the line.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you drop a like on this video, subscribe for more. This is Chuck Swirsky on the Luca Rosano Show, presented by Dave and BUSTER'S VAUGHAN. Have yourselves a great weekend. Peace out.